First day of the early signing period. We don't really call it the signing period. We just call it signing day because everybody that pretty much is going to sign in the early period signs on the first day. And LSU with a group of 19 that's ranked in the top 5 in the country, depending on what service you look at, number 3 or number 4. And you asked me a question before the show started. I laughed at you because the question you knew the answer to the question before you asked it, and you I don't know if you were trying to evoke a reaction or you just was trying to make a funny, but it was very well played. And you asked me, is the reaction on the day after signing day more joy over the ones you got or anguish over the ones that you missed? And I laughed at you because
you laughed at me. Openly laughed at me
because you know good and well that the bigger reaction is to the guys.
Okay, can I at least say this isn't just me pumping sunshine. This morning we had 2 different national guys that cover recruiting on our SEC show that unprovoked, we just asked them who they thought the big winners were of the day, and now of course they included Alabama, but every one of them included LSU as well. So I'll leave that there. I understand you lost out on some guys that you thought were going to be in this class. Jojo Earl was a guy that was as solid as it looked. I mean, he changed his Twitter name to Jeaux. You know, that was the way he spelled JoJo. So you thought you had him. No, nothing really led you to believe he was going elsewhere until the 11th hour, and those type of moves hurt. I do understand that. I'm not oblivious to it, but you just pulled in a big class. You pulled in one of the biggest top 3 class in the country with everything surrounding the program right now that you could negative recruit to the play on the field, to all the things we talk about here daily, and you still pull in a top 3 class. That's a pretty good feat.
There's some real players in this class, some real guys that I think are going to make an immediate impact, and none of them bigger than Mason Smith. And this happened after we got off the air yesterday. We expected it, but boy, it's nice
until you see it though.
Yeah,
until you see not only come out in the jersey, the hat, the stuffed animal, whatever you pull out of that bag, until you see it, and also when you see the school officially put it like on their website or on their social media, that's when I believe it.
Yesterday had, after we got off the air, had a little bit of that 5 for 5 feel to it. Because who did they get? Sure. Who did they get after we got off the air yesterday? They got Mason Smith and they got Sage Ryan.
Yep.
These are the two 5-star kids in Louisiana. These kids have star potential. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but they have star. It felt a little bit to me anyway. After the day that day in January of whatever year it was, that they got Jamal Adams and they got Leonard Fournette, and yet the overall feel of the fan base, at least the ones that were communicating with us, was that they had lost the other 3.
Right.
And so yesterday, after we got off the air, about a half hour later, they get Mason Smith, and not long after that, they got Sage Ryan. But they lost 2 kids to Alabama, and they didn't sign more than 1 offensive lineman, and it seemed like that was just like, hang on, what if Mason Smith is the next Glenn Dorsey? I mean, that could happen, right? He maybe not to Dorsey's level, because Dorsey's one
generational type. Yeah.
What if he's the next Tyson Jackson? What if he's the next Marcus Spears? Those guys are pretty good players.
They were. They had long careers in the NFL and did a lot of things after they left LSU. So he was the guy that you couldn't miss. I felt like there was 2 guys that you had to get, and you just mentioned both of them. But I also want to throw Chris Hilton into this mix, because that was a guy that you weren't quite sure there at the end, and he's been on our radar since he was a sophomore. I remember covering the state championship games 2 years ago, and he made a play to beat West Monroe. He took a screen like 80 yards, and he made multiple plays in that game that I said, whenever he becomes a senior, LSU needs to make sure they get this guy on campus. So I felt like there was 3 guys in the state that you absolutely had to get. I thought you did a nice job of picking and kind of choosing who you wanted in the state, but you also gave some offers to some guys late that have Louisiana ties through and through, and they're going to mean something to your program. And then you stole someone from Auburn. Armani Goodwin is a guy that none of us really had in this class for LSU. He was committed to Auburn, and on signing day, you were able, almost kind of fell in your lap, the fifth best running back in the country. That's a big, hey, this just so happened that Gus got fired and he's available now.
So all of that, what you just said, is true, and yet I can't go 10 feet without somebody telling me they didn't sign an off lineman. So I'm gonna say this again, and then I'm gonna shut up about it for the foreseeable future. They have 6 spots left in this class, and I suspect that at least 2 and maybe 3 will be offensive linemen. They will probably be at least 1 transfer and probably 2, and there may be 1 more high school kid. So I do think they're going to get to 4 offensive linemen. I'm here to tell you that the high school offensive lineman I don't expect to play. The one that they did sign, Garrett Dellinger, who's a very good-looking young player, very good-looking recruit. Yep. I don't expect him to play next year. I think that him playing next year is a long shot. And if he is playing, it's probably because something went wrong in the front, that one of your guys got hurt, one of your guys from a couple years ago didn't pan out. If there is a hole in this 2021 class with this 20 of the early period, in the lineman, it will probably end up hitting you in the 2023 season when you look up and you say, wait a minute, where are the senior linemen? So I'm going to continue to say this again, and I don't know, this is not sunshine pumping, this is reality. The guys that have to play offensive line for LSU next year, the recruits that they have that need to play are Xavier Hill, they're Dummerville, it's Anthony Bradford, it better be Dare Rosenthal. It might be Liam Neeson.
I've actually heard
Liam Shanahan.
Liam Neeson. Can we get him? He's got a certain set of skills that
he's been taken.
Okay. I actually have heard a couple sources say that they're making really good progress right now with the guys they're trying to re-recruit to come back on the offensive line.
That's good news.
Everyone I've heard still on the table. So that is good news because you need numbers. Like you need bodies. Like obviously they've got to continue to get better in spots, but you need bodies to be able to have competition in the spring.
And I'm not saying they don't need to go sign more offensive linemen. I couldn't possibly agree more, but it ain't for next year's team. I mean, Martinez and Dummerville and Hill better be able to play next year. And Rosenthal and Shanahan and Ingram, you better get 1 or 2 of those guys back. And if Bradford could help you, that'd be great.
Bradford's big. He's a big body. He's someone that you went out of your footprint to go get, right? He is from the state of Michigan, okay? So there's something you loved about him to go get him from the state of Michigan. And he was a starter at one point, considered a starter on this football team. Now, because of whatever happened, he hasn't seen the field. That's someone that you not only saw potential in, but he showed you something. There was something at some point that made him a starter. Mm-hmm. Can you regain that? Because he's obviously a talented guy, but talent only takes you so far.
So those 4 guys that haven't played yet, Hill, Dummerville, Bradford, and Martinez, and the 3 guys that you got that are playing right now, Shanahan, Ingram, and Rosenthal, that better be the basis of what you start with next year. You want to throw Cordell Thomas in there, fine. I think
someone else to pay attention to real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off. Joseph Evans. Could he potentially flop back?
Yeah, you keep saying that, and if they do, then add him to the list. I mean, I know he's on defense right now. He could easily go back in that in that direction. So if you get all of those guys, and Garrett Dellinger ends up being a part of your 2 deeps, not a guy that you expect to play. And if they get Tristan Lee, which I don't know if they're going to or not, I think they're probably trailing, but who knows? I don't think that he would play next year either. Could be wrong. Every now and then you find a freshman, but for the most part, the answer is it's down the line.
When's the last time, this is such a handy question, it's not something I can answer. When's the last time a true freshman started on the offensive line for LSU?
Last true freshman to start on the offensive line for LSU. I'm trying to think. Trey Turner, maybe. No, he
Hey,
might.
buddy, you could say any name, and I'm
He
like,
might have been a red. He might have been a red shirt.
We've had some redshirt freshmen for sure.
There's been a couple that have done it. Because I remember Ethan Posick, I think, started some as a true freshman. There's not many. You go back, Lyle Collins, I think. Lewis Williams was a guy back in the 90s that jumped in and started as a true freshman. Ben Wilkerson started as a true freshman. Okay. But you can name them on one hand. I mean, I'm probably missing one or two somewhere, but that you go back to Lou Williams, you're going back into the 90s there. So it's, half a dozen maybe.
Chasen Hines, a couple of games, if I'm not mistaken.
The one at Auburn guard. For sure.
Did he start the Georgia game? I know he played a ton in the game.
Yeah, he may have. So a couple games, yeah. But a starter that went the whole way.
We're getting some in the Bayou Ford chat here. Ed Ingram. Sadiq Charles, I believe. Yeah, Sadiq did play some.
Yeah, they were forced. They had injuries. Generally, that's what happens.
Look at our peeps in the Bayou Ford chat. I keep almost saying huddle. Gosh, Bayou Ford chat helping us out here.
Moscona killed the huddle.
Yeah, of course he did. Probably kill Christmas too. Grinch.